Hi there everybody, it's Verity here from Inkybutterfly.com. Thank you so much for joining me again today for another Stamp Around the World video hop. Our hop runs every month on the 15th. We do a different theme every time, and this involves demonstrators from all around the world, all making their projects against a certain theme. So our theme this month is animals. Okay, so if you check out the description below, you will see lots of links to other people's videos, so it'd be really great if you could spend a little bit of time with us all, just hopping around, seeing what everyone else has made, giving them some likes, subs, subscribes, and we like those thumbs ups. Those really help grow our channels. So the animal theme then, so I had a rummage through my stamp sets. I don't have a lot of animal stamps. Doesn't tend to be my thing to go to, but we've got last chance products around at the moment. So I had a quick whiz through the list, and I came across Thoughtful Expressions. It's a set I haven't used for a long time, and it's lovely, and it has this beautiful hummingbird. Okay, so this is what we're using today. Now the dies for this actually kind of retired a little while ago, maybe a year ago. So there's no dies for this, but if you've got the dies, all the better. You can cut out all the elements. I'm going to have to fussy cut mine today, but we're going to be playing with this set. So last chance product. So if it's something you like and you haven't got it, now's the time. We're also going to be using these Countryside Corners dies, again last chance product. They're a nice shape to use as a background like I'm doing today. Okay, and I'm also going to emboss it with the Fern 3D embossing folder, which is also last chance. So all of these products are all on that list and will only be available while stocks last. So do check that out if these are something that you like. You need to get in there and grab them while you can. Okay, I'm going to need that. So okay, so as you can see, here's we're just going to make this lovely floral card with this lovely embossed shape on background, coloured in our hummingbird. And whether you can see the shimmer on that, hopefully you can. Yeah, a bit of Wing Costella has gone on that to give them that shimmery look, which you get from hummingbirds, and they come in all sorts of colours. So I opted for this sort of greeny blue kind of combination. Okay, so to mix things up, we're going to change the colour of our card base. I'm going to go for soft sea foam. This is Lemon Lolly. I've already cut the Countryside Corner die to go on it, and then I've got a couple of scraps of white here to do our stamping. I'll put those to one side just for the moment. Okay, so I've got the sentiment and I've got all the images that I want. They're all fitted on the e-block, which means I can stamp this once and get everything that I need stamped out. I'm going to use Memento ink. We're going to be doing colouring with watercolour pencils. This is a water-based ink, and normally you'd be like, you probably need something that's more water friendly. But if it's fully dry, and we're only using the blender pens, we're not using a lot of water, then let's see how lovely and crisp that is. Isn't that beautiful? Okay. But if we're using a little bit of sort of, it's almost like a damp brush rather than anything wet, it should hold up just fine. Okay, and what we're going to do is give it a good opportunity to dry by stamping this out. Lots of light tapping across all those images. Okay, I'll keep my Memento ink sort of nice and well inked up. Re-ink it regularly, little and often, rather than letting it go dry and then re-inking it all at once, just to keep it really crisp. And sometimes people say it's a bit dull, but if you keep it topped up with ink, I find you get really good results. So I'm having to give that a fair bit of even pressure all the way around because I've got the 3 images on, but if you do that you should get absolutely pristine images. Aren't they great? Okay, ready for us to watercolour. Okay, so as I say, I'm just going to give that an opportunity to dry just for a minute because we can punch our sentiment out. So on the original sample I actually used the modern hexagon, not modern hexagon, heartfelt hexagon. This is modern label, modern oval. I was like, that doesn't sound right. So we're going to punch this out with this one. So I find that the oval and the hexagon are quite nice interchangeable shapes. They are similar in dimensions, just depends on whether you want to go for that sort of a square look or a more rounded look. So, you know, sort of take your pick really, sort of similar in size. Okay, they're really great punches. These are carrying over, they're still going to be with us to use, as is Sweetest Star. That's a nice one as well, just to put in the background. So there's our sentiment ready to go. Put that with our things. And the other thing I'll do while that just gives it a bit of time just to dry is we'll emboss this. So we'll just pop the shape into our embossing folder. This is quite a random pattern, so you know, you can sort of mix and match where you want to put this depending on which bits you want to sort of show. I quite like this big leaf in the middle there, so let's just pop that in and make sure that's there, because that's the bit we'll sort of, oh actually we'll see more of this bit, so let's tweak it that way. On the layout of the card, this is sort of the area we're going to see the most, so just pick a bit that you fancy really. Okay, so this is a 3D embossing folder, so we're going to use the sandwich that it recommends. Okay, so you get how well used that cutting plate is. I will use this until it literally cracks and everything, and I keep flipping it over. But on the base platform you get with the machine, it has all the sandwiches that you need, and obviously we're using a 3D embossing folder, so we just need the base platform, this one, and our number 4 plate, which is the dark grey plate. You get all the plates in the box. So here's the dark grey plate. Okay, and this one you always use when you're doing your die cutting, and then it's a combination of cutting plates for your dies and other embossing. Okay, so we're just going to do that base platform, embossing folder, grey platform, run it through, and it shouldn't be difficult to run through. Oops, pinged out the other end. I'm going to put the number 2 plate and my cutting plate back on there. So that bottom plate, once it gets to a point where I want to replace it, I'll use the plate I've been using as a top plate and swap it round, and then use that one to death. Okay, I'm going to use just whatever ink is left on this brush, this light green brush, just to add some colour to this. It'll sort of emphasise the embossing a little bit. But it'll still have a bit of contrast with the background cardstock, and also provide some contrast for our sentiment oval. Okay, so just a little bit of colour on there as you fancy. Okay, so this guy can go onto our card. I'm going to stick this on flat, Sometimes seal will pull at your embossing a little bit if it's a 3D embossing folder. It kind of depends, so you might want to use wet glue rather than seal. So if that happens, don't worry. I mean, no one will see it anyway. You just might want to use wet glue, and wet glue will give you a bit of wriggle room as well. So if you're less confident placing your elements central, then you can do that. See, that sentiment still now will pop just nicely. Okay, and we're going to stick a couple of dimensionals on the back of that. Put those in place, and we've got these sort of hanging off the edge. Oops. But I still want to be able to see that nice shape that we've got in the background, so I'm going to pop that there and use this edge to gauge that it's straight. Okay, and then we'll come back to this to finish it off in a minute. Right, so now we've got to do some colouring. There's a bit of dander all over my desk, so I'm just going to wipe that away. Okay, so let's do this then. Right, so let's zoom in. Let's make sure I don't... There we go. Zoom in a little bit for you, just so that you can see what I'm doing. And I've pulled out a selection of watercolour pencils. There are 2 collections, and I've pulled out all the greens. So I'm going to use them in a slightly different order than I did on the original. So this one's Old Olive. I'm just going to add some colour to these leaves, not being particularly fussy with it. We're going to use some, this is Granny Apple Green on these ones, and I'm just doing those sort of a V at the bottom and then up the centre stem there. And then we've got Garden Green, and again we'll just drop some colour in and blend it out with the blender pen. Okay, and we'll do we'll do the blending as we go along. Right, so my blender pens then, they are a 2-ended pen, and they've got something in them that helps the ink blend. I'm going to guess it's glycerin or something, but I don't actually know. So this just shifts that pigment around, and I'm drawing it from the bottom of those leaves out to the tips, and it does get a little bit on the lighter side, and I just wipe off excess on my hand, to be honest, or just use a cloth or something if you wish. You just don't want the colour to, it'll just it stains the tip, but it doesn't carry over much, but anything that's just on the tip will obviously transfer a little bit. And then same with these, blend that out, make that sort of smooth look to it. So that's our green done. Okay, the flowers this time I'm going to pull in some sort of reds. So I've got Cherry Cobbler, Real Red, and Calypso Coral. On this one we've got Fresh Freesia and Melon Mambo. Did I use the Flirty Flamingo? I don't think I used Flirty Flamingo in the end. I think I just used the 2 colours, Fresh Freesia and Melon Mambo, that one was. But we've got 3 colours to choose from here, so I'm thinking we'll use the Cherry Cobbler on these ones, and again it's just a spot in the centre that I'm doing. Okay, that'll blend out. And then we've got Calypso and we've got Real Red. So obviously the Calypso is going to be a little lighter, and we're just going to go over these sort of lines in the artwork, and you can see I'm really being fussy. Not, it's just chuck the colour on. Okay, and I'm going to pop a little bit of the red in there just to make the centre a little harder, just scribble in a sort of star shape, and we'll bring in our red. So I've these blender pens come in a set of 3, and I've got 2 sets of 3, although at the moment I can only find 5 of these pens. I don't know where the other one is, and that's more than enough. You probably don't even need 2 packets, to be honest. I just generally use 1 for each sort of colour group, and again I'm just going to swirl that out. It'll fade as it gets to the edge. The Memento ink might move a little bit and dull down that colour, but I think that's okay. If you really want this to be absolutely crisp black without any fear of any bleeding from the black ink, then Stays On ink would be a better ink to use for the outline. It's just not, I just don't like using Stays On. It's hard to clean off your stamps, and harder, I should say, to clean off your stamps. You can do it, you've got the cleaner, but you just got to make sure you rinse it all off, don't leave it on your stamp. Okay, and then we get to the hummingbird. So on the hummingbird, on the original, this is the Night of Navy with a little bit of Balmy Blue and the Coastal Cabana. But on this one, I'm going to keep with Coastal Cabana. I'm going to grab my gorgeous grape and the Balmy Blue. Oh, Balmy Blue, Fresh Freesia. Fresh Freesia maybe. Okay, so we've got more of a purpley green hue. I'm going to go on with this version of our hummingbird. So the darker colour I'm going to put at the wing tips, and again I'm just dragging in some lines of colour down these feathers, a bit here maybe, and that sort of bit round his eye there. Drop in a bit of freesia just to mix that in. Could leave it at that, actually. It would be an interesting different look. Be more of a purple bird, but they do come in all sorts of colours. Now this is quite an intense colour. I might just do this a little lighter than I did on the original and just let it blend a little bit more. Okay, let's grab my pen for that. Let's use that one. And again, I'm going to just go over those lines again and blend that in, blend that through. And I'm not too worried if there's a few little white bits either. This looks cool. You're never sort of sure what you're going to get with some of these things. I say, if you use an image search of some kind, you'll see that these birds do come in all sorts of colours. So there'll be something that matches. Okay, and then we'll just drop in some early espresso on his beak there, just to make that a little darker. Okay, so that's our colouring done. Whoops. I'll leave those there. They're going to make a whole noise. Right, so next thing is fussy cutting. So there's a lot of fussy cutting to do here. I'm not sure this is something that you particularly want to watch me do. I mean, I can start it off, and then maybe we'll skip to it being done. But I do like to just sort of release each image, if you like, and just sort of give myself some more room to do the cutting. And with the cutting, we're going to just follow the paper around. I'm leaving ever such a slight border, and I'm going to try and keep the scissor blades nice and straight in my wrist, and we're going to twizzle the paper instead. So this bit's getting in my way, so I'm just going to lop some of this off. And you want to do nice sort of smooth cuts. So open your scissors as far as they'll go, and just gently squeeze as you twizzle the paper. Because if you sort of snip at it, you're more likely to get jagged edges. Okay, these snips are super sharp, really good for fussy cutting. So sharp they come with a blade. Not with a blade. They are a blade. They come with a guard. And the points cut all the way to the end. And not all scissors do that. And if they do that, they don't often give you a nice clean cut. I just need to be it off a little. So there we go, our hummingbird's done, and we'll cut back when I've done all the rest of it. Okay, everything's fussy cut, so we are ready just to assemble our card then. So let's pop these on. Just pop some dimensionals on the back, so everything's going to be nice and dimensional. Just use some of the larger ones on these bigger images, and this one needed some minis, so it's great that we've got the two sizes that we can use. So I'm gonna just tuck this one in where that dimensional will allow me. And there we are. And I want this guy to sort of follow this edge, but I want to make sure that his beak isn't sort of overlapping the sentiment, so we're going to pop him in there, and then the florals can just fit in somewhere there underneath, and it doesn't really matter which bits. Just would like to cover that raw edge of that, which I do. Okay, but we've got, you know, the texture poking out from the other elements as well, so if you wanted to stick down that a little bit more firmly, you could. And the only thing to add on the as an additional is our wink of Stella to make our hummingbird shimmer. Okay, could have done that before we stuck it down, and I just forgot. But that is it, you know, so I hope you like that. I like how that's come together. I really like this colour combination, it's really cool. Okay, so this one's a little brighter with the yellow, but you know, just got that sort of tropical vibe to it. I guess just zoom back out a little bit there so you can see them both side by side a little bit. So you know, play with the colours, have some fun with it. Great set of products there. Don't forget to grab them while you can, And don't forget, of course, to give everybody some likes, subscribes, thumbs up. All the links are in the description to everybody else's projects that they've made. And of course, there's the links to the actual store if you want to check out any of the products. Thanks so much for joining us today on this Stamp Around UK video hop. Hope you enjoy it. Stay safe, take care, and I will see you again soon. Bye.